How are you, my friend?
All right. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very good. I started growing my beard when the whole coronavirus started. I
Yeah,
think
me
you,
too.
I was about to say, I think you've had a couple of years of, of, uh, of isolation before that. But man, it
Yeah.
looks good. It looks good.
Thanks.
I
Yeah,
can't
you
believe,
too,
man.
man.
It's been, I can't even remember how long it's been. I think it's been, what, 10 years or something, at
It's
least.
definitely been 10 years. Yeah. When did you move to Australia?
About 9 years ago.
9 years ago. So, and I moved to Copenhagen about, yeah, that's 10 years ago now. 11 years actually. So it's got to be more than that.
It's
But
crazy, man.
you were still playing. You were still playing. I remember you played in that band called Stumped, right?
Yeah. I think we stopped in about 2005. I think at the end of 2005, and then yeah,
Right.
I had a little bit of a hiatus from music after that.
Yeah.
So
And then I remember we shared the same rehearsal space in Odense at what
oh
was it,
yeah,
Spilledosen?
yeah. There was a couple of those communal places where everybody had their own little
Yeah,
little
I
cube.
think Rock Hard Power Spray was there as well, and our drummer Casper Tom was there, and I think you were there as well. Maybe there was also something out in the Kansas City rehearsal space.
I think
Maybe,
Kansas
I
City
don't know if you were
was
there.
yeah. I think Kansas City started after I left Odense. But yeah, oh, good old times, man.
Good old times, man. But how did you get to Australia?
Ah, long story, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just needed a change, and it ended up becoming a permanent change.
Yeah.
Now I'm
So
here,
you have a
man.
wife and kids and the
Married,
whole
married,
shebang.
exactly, married and 3 kids,
That's nice, man.
3 little boys, man. Oh,
Three
it's good.
kids, man. That's crazy, Stephen.
I
Crazy
know,
times.
I know, I know. It keeps you busy for sure, man.
That's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. I only have one, but keeps me pretty busy as well.
But how's everything going now? You've sort of you've been locked up, you've been in isolation, I assume, for the last couple of months. Had a lot of gigs cancelled and all that.
Yeah. We haven't really been in isolation per se, but we've been pretty restricted as to how we could. Like many of the shops has been closed down, and the cafes have been totally closed down. All restaurants and there have been pretty big restrictions as to how many people we can be in the same space and so on.
Yeah.
But it's actually starting to open up now.
Oh,
But
that's
the one
good.
thing that yeah, that's really nice. So we can go to the cafes again and under like pretty strict supervision as to how many people are inside and stuff like that. But the one thing that hasn't opened up at all yet is the live shows.
Yep.
So that's going to have to wait until right now. It's starting up again in the beginning of September.
Wow.
So we have to wait all summer. So all the big festivals like Roskilde and all the festivals are cancelled. And there's no venue shows. The smaller venues where we usually play with the White Album is closed down as well. So, but right now it's looking like we have a festival show we were supposed to play in May. Actually, right now, that's being moved to the beginning of September. They moved the whole festival over, so that's going to be the first one, and then we have a whole. Like the whole spring tour is moved to the fall tour along with the other shows in the fall. So we have kind of a busy fall now. Because all the shows are crammed inside, the fall, and some are even over in next spring. So there's some shows in February and some shows in May as well.
Yeah.
And the festival has been moved 1 year, so it's all like kind of been scooched over.
Yeah, it's obviously
So
like for a lot
just have to
of.
wait.
Yeah, exactly. And like this, there's just nothing you can do about it. It's just so crazy.
Yeah.
It's the entire world. It's exactly the same
Yeah.
here. All the cafes just started to open up, and yeah, there's no live music yet, and
Yeah.
but it's just crazy. Like, have you guys been sort of financially affected by that? Because I know so many bands and so many musicians have.
Yeah, definitely. We have, because we like when we go on tour like that, we're pretty much keeping everything else standby. We're not doing other work. It's not, we're not in a position where we can just live off the White Album all year round, but we can live off of it while we're on tour.
Right.
But we keep everything else because it's kind of when you're an old man, almost 40 years old, it's kind of a big it's kind of a big deal being on tour, hauling all your stuff around and playing and being up late and stuff, and you can't really have a normal work week along with that, or you'll go totally crazy. So we don't have anything else while we're on tour. Then it's all about that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of financial disaster somehow, because we're not getting any of that money. But then luckily the Danish government have put out these help packages, so that means we can apply for those. But it's just taken a really long time, and then I applied for one, and then I got a message saying, oh, you can actually apply for 1 more month, which is great, because then I'm almost getting the amount actually that I lost, which is fantastic for me.
Oh, wicked. Yeah.
It's a great opportunity, but I have to wait a long time to get it. So now it's going to be 3 more weeks, because I just applied for the second round where you can, apply for a longer period.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not complaining at all, because it's fantastic that I can get compensated for that, And I don't know if they didn't do it, like, it would probably wipe out the entire industry in one blow. Because people would just be like, we need to get another job, like we need to change career paths totally, because it's not going to work unless you have like money tucked away somewhere that you can live off, which I don't.
Yeah. So all of you, do you have to have a day job on the side as well, or are you? Because I remember you said that you could not live of this unless you were touring. So when you're outside the touring circle, do you need to have some other sort of income on the side?
Yeah, it's like when I was in the like early 10s, like from 2010, 11-ish, and up till when I became a dad, I could just live off playing, and I had the 2 bands. I had the White Album and the Eclectic Moniker going at the same time. But I didn't make a lot of money, but I could live off of that. But then when I became a father, it's kind of another deal, you know how it is. Then you need to spend a lot of money buying all the kids stuff, and mama is kind of not working that much anymore. So then I actually had to take a teaching job for some years. But then now I'm kind of back to just doing music, but then I have the studio here where I'm sitting now. So that's actually what I do when I'm not on the road.
Awesome.
Then I just make records and mix songs and produce and record bands and artists here and So it's kind of all about the music again. So it's not teaching anymore.
Fantastic.
It's kind of an interesting story actually, because I took that job at a high school, which is directly translated. It's a high school. But,
yes, I think it's called like
it's not at all a high school. Like, what's high school in Australia? It's
so high school is like high school is like the last end of the Danish public school. So that's the last 6 years of the public school.
Yeah, so it's the same in the States, I guess. But in Denmark, high school is something pretty different. It's for all ages basically. And then there's some kind of theme at the schools. Maybe there are around, I don't know, 80 or 100 different high schools in Denmark. And they all have kind of their special theme. And I was at this music high school, where it's mostly kids in their early 20s. So they're pretty interesting, of course, to teach, because they just figured out like what they're going to do, and they're going to do music, and they're totally hyped and open to new stuff. So that was interesting, but it wasn't really like I was doing it for a couple of years, and it wasn't. There were some problems at the school as well, with the leadership and the employees and stuff, and I was at 2 different high schools actually. It was the same problem in different guises at both schools, but it really ended up like dawning on me that I have to create, and I have to make music. I have to find a way to do it, because I was teaching full time, and I was just feeling like, okay, it's nice, and I enjoy being with the students a lot, but I'm kind of in the wrong place. So when I was finishing up, I quit the job, and I just felt free again, because I was, feeling like now I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in life. And it really showed me that, because I was teaching so much, and I really figured out, I haven't been this sure that I'm on the right path, ever, actually.
Wow.
Because of that whole experience, So sometimes it's nice to push something to the total extreme, to see, okay, this is definitely not what I'm supposed to do. I'm actually supposed to be over here. So that gives some kind of sense of a really good sense of direction and purpose for what I'm doing now, which is just making records and playing music.
Yeah, look, that sounds like a dream.
It's so cool.
But what was your thought process, sort of having to to give up your stable job and just focus on doing music full time? Because I would imagine that would be a bit of an uncertain future, especially from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, totally. It's no problem when you don't have kids. You can just do what you like, basically, right? And you can live off of almost nothing. But then when we had Lily, she's 3.5 years old now, and I was teaching, and I was making a lot of money because I was also playing still, So I was actually away all of the time, I drove like 1.5 hours up there, taught all day, and then drove all the way back home. And I had these weekend shifts, and then I had concerts in the weekend, so I was a lot away from home. And I just starting. The thought process was more like I could just feel like I just felt really unhappy, really unfulfilled, and really unhappy, and kind of wasted, like my energy was so low, and it was actually my wife Sille that said to me, hey, this is not working, this is not working out, you need to quit the job and kind of come home and start doing stuff here. And I thought about it, and I could really feel that, this is kind of wearing me out. But it was a big step, because you get the nice salary every month in your account, and you get all the good pension. There was a really good pension thing going. Yeah. All that stuff, you say goodbye to that and step into this super huge uncertainty as to what's going to happen, and especially when you have a kid, that's a big step to make. But instantly I felt more happy, and of course money goes up and down all the time, because there's no steady income. Yeah. So when there's clients in the studio, then there's a little money. When I'm going on the road, there's a little money, and then there can be like 2 months where there's nothing really happening, and I'm just sitting here writing by myself. And there's no money, so it's but I kind of prefer to live that way, I found out, because I'm not really cut out for the safe thing. I know a lot of people feel like I need to be super safe and super certain that I have all the stuff in place, but I don't really thrive with that, actually. Maybe it's going to sound weird to a lot of people, but I actually thrive more the other way, like being a little bit uncertain as what's going to happen. Yeah. And that I know I actually need to go out into the world and do stuff to do something and to succeed somehow, and to make the money I need to make.
But I think that's a very common trait for a lot of creative people, whether you are in the music industry, whether you're an actor or an artist, if you paint and stuff, because again, it's just such a difficult industry to make it in, like to fully be able to have a high income. So for so many musicians, I hear that I've been speaking to quite a few over the last couple of weeks as well, and they pretty much everybody say the same thing. It's the fact that They do it because it's such a fulfilling thing. You know, it's your art. It's a part of you. I had a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you remember Miki from Halsey and Hope, Miki Petersen from Odense, the old Odense crew as well.
I'm not sure if I remember him actually.
I
might remember him if I see him.
Yeah, I had him on, and he actually had a really good metaphor. He said every time we go on tour, because he was talking about a tour they went to Ukraine and Russia, and he said so they went there, they booked this tour. And it actually cost them a lot of money. And he said, by the time they came home, we were so lucky. We just broke even. And I was like, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? Like you have this, you know, your band is like your business, and you build it up, and you want to take it out and, you know, show off and, you present your music to the crowds. And, and you come home and you're happy that you just broke even. But what he said, I run on the currency of memories. So he said all the memories that he had from those 2 weeks is priceless.
Yeah, it is.
And I thought that was a really sort of beautiful way of approaching it, because I think a lot of, especially upcoming bands, are in that position where it's very difficult to make a living.
It's beautiful. It's the currency of memories and the currency of experiences as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's a beautiful way to travel when you go out into the world with your music. It's amazing the people you meet and the hospitality and the love you feel is just awesome. Like you can't. It's just an amazing way to travel out into the world. But I guess we're not there. Like sometimes you have to, when you're building stuff up. Like say you want to go to Austria. And kind of take on Austria and build a name for yourself in Austria or Germany or wherever. Like you have to spend some time not making a lot of money, maybe even like just breaking even. For a period, and then hopefully it's going to grow from there. So you have to kind of place your bets. Like you're going to have to risk a little something, to start off.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we're not doing that with the White Album. Like we have to bring some money home when we tour. So otherwise it's we can't kind of, what do you say, like defend ourselves back home and the family. For the wife, he says, okay, you're gone for 1 week, 2 weeks, and you just come home with experiences and memories. It's not good enough. So we need to bring some stuff back. So we always make sure that we kind of, that it's not just break even, but that we get a little something. And it's easier if we play in a country like Switzerland, where we have a thing going in Switzerland, because they're so filthy rich in Switzerland. They're so rich and happy.
So that's a good
amazing.
Tip. Yeah, just
that's a good.
Play some shows and.
It's not the easiest to get into Switzerland to find the right people, but we have a really good booker down there. And then a place like Germany is not that easy, because it's they pay less and you have to risk a little more. Yeah. To build something up in Germany. So, but that's kind of what we're on to in the White Album now, is to play more abroad. We used to play a lot in England as well to begin with.
Oh wow!
But now it's kind of, because the music we do in the White Album is getting less and less Danish radio. And more kind of indie. We want to go like experiment a little bit again. Yeah. Like we did when we started. So it's kind of, I think we kind of hit a ceiling in Denmark as to how big we can get in Denmark.
Well, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah. But we would need to change the music to be more understandable and more accessible and more mainstream if we wanted to keep building in Denmark. Yeah. So we just thought, let's build abroad instead and do weird music.
Could you maybe try and run us through how that actually started? Because like you obviously don't get to the sort of level of where you're at now with the White Album and Eclectic Moniker just after a couple of weeks of playing. So you started back in when did the bands form?
Both bands actually formed around 2010, around that time.
Yeah.
And I was playing in, I don't know, 10, 15 different bands. Yeah, it was crazy. It was totally crazy. I was just all around, all over the place, playing and writing songs. And then someone told me, a Danish drummer actually, from Eggerston, the drummer from that band, it's a legendary Danish rap group, and I was kind of hanging out with those guys, and he said, "Man, just quit all the bands and just focus on Eclectic Moniker. Just quit all the bands." And then I went home next day and called all the bands, called all the lead singers I was working with, and saying, I have to do my own thing.
Nice.
So it's just one day to the other, I just started focusing, and then it really took off fast. Like Eclectic Moniker was like a rocket out of nothing, and it just exploded. And White Album was a different thing. It wasn't like that ambitious actually to begin with, because it was just about me and Klaus and Jacob wanting to spend some time together like as friends. And then if you're interested in cooking, maybe we would meet up and cook some stuff. We actually did that as well. But, it was golf or whatever. Like, we would probably meet doing that. But now it's music that we're interested in, So we met up in a summer house and just had a good time and recorded some songs. And then, of course, there might have been some ambition involved, because we actually ended up uploading the stuff we made to Bandcamp. And then that also took off like a rocket, because there was some English manager, dude, like a young guy called Daniel Baker, who found us and said, "Hey, you want to come to England, and I can book you a little tour, and we can see what happens." So we said, "Yeah, sure." And we haven't played a show at that time, yet in Denmark.
Oh wow!
So our first show was over at a place in Sheffield, actually a club owned by the Arctic Monkeys in Sheffield. So we went over there and played our first show. And,
fantastic.
And played a lot in England in the coming years, and was a part of. There was a big hype going on with the White Album in London, and we almost got signed over there.
Wow!
We had one big show. It was the last show we played over there, and they were all invited, like the head booker from Coda, Rob Chalice, which is a huge booking agency in Europe and the world, like huge, and all these record label guys from Sony and Parlophone and Universal in London. They were coming to see us, and we just played the most shitty show you could imagine.
Oh no!
Like it was terrible. It was like in this little basement with these little speakers, and there was no reverb in the mixer, and it was like an old Roland mixer from '76, and we were totally nervous, and our manager was totally fucked up on cocaine, and everything just went totally wrong that show.
Oh man!
So that was kind of that we just decided, man, let's just focus on Denmark, because we actually that was a pretty big expense. It wasn't even breaking even. We spent a whole lot of money touring England in all those years, and it was super tough. But it was really exciting to be part of that hype, and it was exciting to it was exciting to experience all that, because it's a really fast-moving industry in the UK.
Right.
So we really learned a lot from that whole ride over there. But it was nice to kind of go back to Denmark and say, okay, let's just not, like, we probably should have moved to the UK and just like really put everything into it. Yeah. But that was impossible, because Jacob and Klaus already had kids at that time.
Yeah.
So we couldn't like place that high bets on that. So it was better to come home. And then we signed with Warner in Copenhagen, in Denmark, and put out 2 albums with those guys. And they did a really great job putting us on the map in Denmark. Yeah. So they really helped a lot in developing, like, to where we are now, where we can go play. Like for an indie band in Denmark, we do pretty good in terms of people coming to the shows, and it's always, a good amount of people coming, even if we play small towns in Denmark. Yeah. So that whole Warner thing, they put us in some TV shows and stuff, and that really helped to spread the word.
Yeah, I saw that. I've been obviously digging into your discography like before our little chat today, and I saw you have quite a few streams from some of the national Danish TV shows where you guys are performing. And it sounds awesome as well. Like it's great production, great songs as well. I listened to that one-on-one. I shared that earlier, and it's such a good song.
Oh, nice, thanks.
But yeah, I'm curious to find out, like, how did you get discovered? Because obviously you first of all, you mentioned about in Bandcamp, there's this guy Daniel from the UK. How did he just stumble across you? Did you do any work yourself? Like, did you try and were you sending out some links, or did you just happen to find you on Bandcamp by accident, or what's the story?
I think he just found us an accident on Bandcamp, and you know, Eclectic is a totally different story. We can talk about that later, but I guess...
Yeah, I'd love to hear that too.
If I have to explain like what the secret sauce is to getting discovered like that, the only way I can say it is that I was just so amazingly sure of myself at that point. Yeah. Like, I just knew that this stuff was going to happen, and I wasn't in doubt. I see that in a lot of young people. You know, I taught up at the Højskole. And I was kind of struck by how insecure they all were. Like, oh, am I gonna make it? And is this gonna, you know, am I good enough and stuff? And I was just never unsure of myself at that point. I had a crazy amount of self-esteem, so I just know that this is gonna happen. I'm gonna break through this wall, and there's nothing that's gonna stop me. So it was like. It was kind of a huge lift in energy. That was the only way I can describe it, that I had in those years. That just made it kind of unstoppable.
But did that sort of like because obviously, like, if you are sitting, if you have all your confidence and you're sitting at home, or you're sitting in a rehearsal room with your bandmates, that confidence obviously needs to somehow connect with other people for them to discover you and help you along the way. So was there anything, or was it just like I know I can do this, and the universe sort of attracted some big people to you, or like, were you actually doing anything? Like, were you sending out demos, or I suppose these days you send out links, really, electronic press kits and all that.
Yeah, the industry changed actually a lot just in 10 years. About that, because I was always about like just keep like. If your music is good enough, if it's really good, like your core product is your music, and if that is good enough, then it'll be unstoppable. But I'm not sure that's true anymore, actually. I think there's a whole lot more to the story now with all the social media, and that was just starting back then. But that was such a huge part of the whole game now. So yeah, your music still got to be as best as it possibly can. It's got to be, you know, the best you can make it. Anyway. But then there's also like how do you tell your story online? Because there's always a story, and there was also a story with my two bands back then that really helped us, you know. So you kind of need to, even more than you did back then, you need to be sure of what your vision are, and how you communicate that vision out to the world, you know, and all the content you create like should somehow be connected to your whole vision of what you want to say. So and I guess I definitely had that. I kind of had a strong vision back then as to what I wanted to say, and I really felt like I need to say something to the world. So maybe I was not totally 100% sure like what that was, but it was just like a really big sense of I want to put something out into the world. Yeah. And then you kind of circle in on what that is and how you communicate it. So that's one thing, and another thing was I was just spending all my waking hours on it. You know, I was writing and producing, and my whole mind was circling around music. Yeah. Which it kind of still is, but there's so much more to life now than there was back then, because now I'm a father and I spend a lot of time with my kid as well. Absolutely. But back then there was nothing else in my life than music, and I had no girlfriend, and And I just, sometimes maybe I woke up late because I'd been out partying or whatever. Maybe I woke up around 12 o'clock or something, and then I sat in front of the computer and just sat and wrote music and produced all day long. And then I would wake up at 11 o'clock and say, shit, I forgot to eat all day. All right, so down to 7-Eleven and get a bag of chips or some holiday dip or whatever. Come home and work till 2 or 3 in the night, or maybe go out and drink some beers and then do the whole thing all over. So I was just like music all the time.
Yeah.
So that's also a thing, like the work ethic. Because that stuff is not going to come unless you really, really put in the hours and like really make sure that, you know, that you kind of find your voice. And that was what I was feeling back then. I was kind of really finding, you know, I wasn't trying to copy at all. I was stealing some stuff from all around, you know, stealing from the stuff I liked. But it was really also kind of me saying, this is how I want to do it. This is what I'm good at. You know, I would write melodies that would fit my voice. That's kind of limited, actually. I don't have that big a range, so I was writing for my voice. So I was kind of presenting myself as good as I could, like that, you know.
Oh wow!
And just really saying, okay, what is it I have, instead of looking at, oh man, these guys are so cool, I want to be just like that, and I wish I could make some music that sounded like that, and just be like, no, what is it that I have that no one else has? And then just working like a monkey to get there, you know, to do something interesting, like interesting for other people to listen to, and most of all, really interesting for me to make, you know, something that I was really like, oh, this is so cool, man, this is so cool. Yeah. This music, I'm in love with it myself, you know.
Oh, you have to be.
Get to that point.
You have to
like really enjoy what you do.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to believe it in yourself in order to sort of convince others to enjoy it as well. So if you're saying that you were sort of writing a lot of stuff, when you then bring that into a band context, how does that work? Like, are you the main songwriter, or do you guys sort of collaborate and sort of tear it apart a little bit?
Yeah, it's different. With the Eclectic Moniker, I was the main songwriter, and I produced like a demo version of something, you know, and it was a huge band. So then we would like, it was kind of different how we did it, and it changed a lot over the years. But that was how it all like began. I would just lay these tracks on them, and then we'd go to the rehearsal space and figure it out. And there were so many people, so it was just uncontrollable. Like, it would really come to life with all these great musicians, you know.
Yeah, how many are you in the band? You're like 7 or 8 or something.
Yeah, we haven't played since 2016. We're actually starting Eclectic Moniker up again now.
Oh, perfect.
And we're just 5 now, 5 people now. So it's a small, tiny band compared to what it was. Most of the time we were 7, and when we started we were 9, and we also had one show where we were 11 people on stage.
Far out.
So it's just like megalomania. So that was crazy, and then it ended up being like more, like we wrote more together-ish. I would still do all the lyrics and stuff, but it kind of evolved to being more, you know, more shared as to how we were doing it. But the White Album is pretty different in that regard, that we're 3 kind of equal songwriters and lead singers. Yeah. So how it works is that we write actually by ourselves. So I might write a tune, and then we meet up in the summer house and we arrange it together, and then I sing it. And if it's Jacob's tune,
then he sings it.
We kind of work on a little bit on that. If there's some minor things that needs to be changed or some arrangements and stuff, so we just meet up and play our finished songs for each other, and then find out if it's something we want to work on, and then we kind of arrange it together.
Cool.
So you always know who wrote it because it's the person singing it. We haven't changed that up at all. So
wasn't that the same as Beatles? I think they were working. They're working kind of the same way as well.
Kind of the same, yeah. And that's also what we call the White Album, because it's kind of the way we work.
Yeah, cool.
You know, because it's really uncommon to have a band with 3, you know, equally, 3 equal lead singers and songwriters.
And 3 equally bearded men.
Yeah, and bearded men as well. But it used to happen all the time, back in the day with the Beatles and all these bands around this period. It was more common. There was more. What's it called? Communal? Is it called that? Like more?
Yeah. Yep. So you do.
Whereas now you see these, and it's easier to understand if you have one soloist, like one lead guy. Okay, that's him. That's Sam Smith, or that's Adele, or it's much more easy to understand for people than this whole fælles. What's fælles called?
Common or communal, or like you collaborate, you have your three lead singers.
Yeah.
But it also, I suppose, it also gives the music sort of a bit more diversity, because you have sort of 3 different. The tone of your voice is slightly different depending on whether you're singing or one of the other guys is singing.
Yeah. So it's but it's always like we have to find a common ground.
Yep.
So and that's not always easy, but it always ends up being like the White Album when all 3 of us kind of had a say in what's going to happen. So it's an interesting process, and we get better and better at it, over the years. But it's always a little bit of a struggle, like to agree. But I guess that's where it becomes the White Album. It's when we all 3 agree, like, this is cool. Then we know, okay.
So how do you? You mentioned before the other guys had kids, or older kids, because they had kids. You were talking about you were a bit younger and you were running the show and you went to England, but the other guys had kids and stuff. So if you all 3 have families now and you're gonna keep writing music, what sort of limitations does that put on you sort of moving forward? You mentioned you had to bring money home when you went when you go out touring and stuff. Is there any other sort of limitations in regards to songwriting or producing or working the band as a business in general?
I mean, of course there are limitations, but you kind of put those up yourself in a way, right? But like if we had an opportunity to go on tour in the States or something for 2 months, that would be difficult to say yes to. Like where we are right now with small kids, because we could do it, but we'd be kind of leaving our families behind, and then mommy has to do all the work. Like, and we're putting enough strain on the families as it is right now, because we're still playing a lot of shows. So those long tours is kind of impossible. So that's always been the deal with the White Album, is we had a lot of opportunities and we actually had to turn a lot of stuff down just because of that, because we want to like keep spending time with our kids. So we kind of have to play more in Denmark and then not do these long tours.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, creatively, I guess what I felt like becoming a father was I have less time to work, but it's so much more efficient when I work now, because I know I have this period of time to do it, so I need to get stuck in and kind of be totally efficient and get it really quickly into the zone.
Yeah.
And that's actually something you can train and work on and become better at.
Time management.
Because it was not. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It was not that efficient, actually. I know I was mentioned that I was working a lot back in the day, but maybe not that efficient, So maybe I was in the zone, but now my work process is so much more streamlined when I do stuff. So, and I guess it was also really healthy for me in that way that music was everything. It was like number one, and now it's not number one anymore. So my daughter is probably number one, right? And music is further down the list. So family is more important, and I'm less important in a way as well, because, and it's actually healthy to have music a little bit lower on the list, because in a way it's less important, and in a way it's never been more important. It's kind of a weird feeling, but. So I'm really, I know, and I kind of know how important music is to me, but it's not, my whole life doesn't depend on it anymore. I guess that's what I want to say, you know.
Yeah.
So I can access it easier because a song is not my little precious child anymore. Like I have to, whoa. It's I can see it like more, you know. I have more kind of that detachment from music is sometimes really good, that you can go in and out because you can see what you're doing a lot better.
Yeah.
When you kind of look at it from outside, it's really difficult to talk about, but it's.
No, I understand exactly what you mean.
It's a really healthy thing to not be so like, oh, mercy, you can't see what you're doing, you know.
Yeah.
But kind of to get out, okay, it's not that important, it's just music. And when I say that to young people, they're like, how can you say that? Music is the most important thing in the world. And yes, it is.
They don't have kids. So.
but it's a matter of perspective.
It is, yeah.
And for me, it has been so healthy to get that perspective. And also kind of a little bit ego, you know, like a dampening a little bit of the ego.
Yeah.
And it just makes for better songs actually, and better access to the whole creative state of mind, because it's not that filled with anxiety and you know, like pressure that it used to have, because, you know, so it just gets easier and more enjoyable, which is a great thing.
Yeah. Well, I think again, especially you were talking about before about the those young kids that you were teaching at the school. And I think probably one of the biggest things, you know, when you are sort of young, and I don't know if unexperienced is the right word, but, you know, when you don't have as much wisdom in life, you know, the whole older and wiser stuff, or perspective is probably a better word. Yeah. So I understand when you are 20 or in your early 20s and you have all these dreams and all these hopes and ambitions that you want to go out and accomplish, but you don't really have anything to, like, you haven't proven yourself just yet. The world is a pretty daunting place. Especially this day and age, you know, where everybody has a voice, because everybody's online. Everybody can sit at home and record pretty good sounding songs, or they can at least send it off to people that can make them sound really, really good. So it would be so daunting to try and take on the music industry this day and age if you're just starting.
It is. I feel bad for those guys, you know, I do, because it's so tough, man. And I remember us talking about when we took off, like in the 2011-12 stuff, when it really took off with both the bands, we were like, shit, man, if we had did this 10 years ago, we would make shitloads of money, you know.
Yeah.
But then I look at it now and say, man, I'm glad that I broke through 10 years ago and that I don't have to make it now, because it's such a tough environment to do anything, because there's so many and they're so good, and it's just impossible. It seems like it's just impossible, and I know it's not, of course not, but it's difficult. It's more difficult than it has ever been to kind of make it, you know, and kind of get your name in that place. And, you know, I guess it's because there's so much good stuff being put out. And also there's so much similar stuff being put out. So how do you like discern stuff from each other? It's impossible. Because there's like the really original acts are really far apart now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
there's the same.
Yeah.
Like if you open up the Danish radio, it's there's a sound, you know. It's a lot of it sounds, you know, the same to me. Maybe I'm just old.
It's the same here. I actually thought about it the other day too. I said to my wife, I said, when you turn on the commercial radio, like, maybe it's just your ears. Maybe you have older ears. Maybe that music is just not for you anymore. Because I'm the same. I can't listen to commercial radio. It sounds like, you know, they have this very, very slim spectrum of music, and that's all that they push. There's no real instruments. And for me, music has to be, you know, has to have a real drum kit, has to have, you know, a good guitar and someone singing instead of all the auto-tune and all that stuff. But I suppose again that part of it hasn't really changed in over a lot of decades, because commercial radio has always been, you know, the top 100 or all the chart toppers. But sort of play like you play real music, it's real musicians, real instruments, and you get together and you make music. It's not something that's made on a computer. And
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and all that stuff. It's just like when you listen to it, again, I suppose your ears mature as well. Like sometimes, 10 years, like when I listen to some music today, I would never have listened to that music 10 years ago because I was into another genre, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
totally.
yeah, but I suppose that's also the beauty of music, that like someone can listen to an Eclectic Moniker song that you did 10 years ago or 8 years ago when you first started today. And for them, that's a brand new song. But to you, it's, that's old news.
Of course, yeah.
But look, it's really interesting you're saying that you guys are getting back together. Actually, how did that come about? Because I think I actually didn't stumble across Eclectic Moniker until you released that Mirror Twin album. Because I remember, I remember you shared something back in, what's that, 2015, 16 or something like that. And I remember I saw that video for the Wonder that looks like an old computer game or something. And that is such a catchy song, man.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. That was it was a period where we were we really wanted to make an album that sounded like what our dads would listen to in the 80s.
Cool.
You know? Like this whole Toto, like I have a Joe Cocker album from '84 that I just love to bone, man. It's amazing. It's called Civilized Man, and old Elton John stuff from the '80s and some Michael Jackson stuff, and we just wanted to kind of make something like that.
Yeah.
So we went full '80s. But you were a little late to the party there because we had the two albums before that were more kind of this Afro world pop kind of, but played with real instruments. We also used a lot of samples and stuff. We would just combine all kinds of stuff together, and there were no rules. And actually, if there were any rules, like at that time, you couldn't do slap bass, for example. That was a real no-no.
Oh, really? Why's that?
We were always like, okay, if we can't do that, then it's our job to break that rule. So we did a lot of slap bass, and we just tried to break all the rules that we could break. So we were wandering this thin line of really cool and really kitsch at the same time in that band. It was really interesting place to be. So, but the whole '80s Mirror Twin thing was an attempt to be more clear in some kind of musical genre direction. Let's try and do this. It's more understandable, and we spent like 4 years and a ton of money. We had Sony Denmark sign it and fund the whole thing, and we spent a lot of money on cool music videos and the whole thing, and it kind of just flopped a little bit.
Oh, really?
It was. I think people thought it was a little bit too boring compared to the old stuff.
Right. Well,
I think like speaking of like what's the vision in the band and how do you communicate it and stuff. I guess our strength was the whole like unruly, crazy, colorful, break all the rules kind of stuff. That was the appeal of the Eclectic Moniker. So when we tried to make it like more streamlined and more focused, like I still think it's a pretty good album and there are some really nice songs on it. But I guess people said, okay, now they're just boring.
Right.
In a way, like our strength was probably more the whole crazy.
Just do whatever you want.
Predictable. Yeah, that whole energy. Yeah. That was the main attraction of that band.
Yeah.
All the people on stage and what the fuck's going on, and things are crazy. So we learned a lot from that. Also, that I think we kind of have the next thing we're going to do is going to not be like that synth-driven and 80s. It's going to be more acoustic. In its sound, it's going to be more like. I think it's going to be more like a rehearsal space kind of sound.
Yeah. Well, again, if you're going to boil it down to just 5 people, you'd obviously need to cut out some of the break the rules instruments. If you because you had like percussion, and did you have a brass section as well or something?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Bring it on. The more the merrier.
So what's the Eclectic Moniker of 2020 or 2021? How's that going to sound?
I think it's going to sound much more dry, and the sound is going to be much like much more dry, and then it's still gonna be pop songs, because it was always a pop band, so we're still gonna do some pop songs, but it's gonna be like I kind of miss it, miss that, you know, I don't know, like this colorful, you know, kind of party like colorful vibe in the Danish radio. It's really like dark and electronic, and I kind of miss the sound of the Eclectic Moniker like it was back in the day, but we're gonna update it somehow. So it's more like relevant now to everyone and to ourselves mostly. So I guess just pop songs, but more of this world Afro stuff. I'm going to combine it with that.
Sort of similar to the East Island song that we heard when we were just doing the intro.
Yeah, I guess kind of like that, but maybe more like more wood in the sound. That
cool.
Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, less electronic.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. I don't know yet. It might change. We might do total 80s album instead. I don't know.
So
we have to see when we get started.
But yeah, because that was going to be my next question. So have you started doing it yet? Have you just been talking to the boys about doing something, but you haven't started?
Yeah, we've been talking and having a few parties and talking a lot and how we're going to do the whole thing. But I started writing a few songs, so I have a little handful of new songs that we're going to maybe meet and work on at some point. So there's no dates at all. It's just we're just getting started.
Yeah.
So I'm just writing and seeing where it goes, you know. So I have an idea. I have a pretty good idea of where I want to take it.
Awesome.
So we have to see how it plays out.
So you can expect a new album in the next couple of years.
Yeah, next couple of years. Yeah. I wouldn't set a date on it yet.
No. Have you still got a record deal, or are you gonna do it yourself?
We're totally. Yeah, I think we're gonna do it ourselves. It's getting easier and easier to do that, you know. So we can, you know, the stuff we can't do is like stuff like PR, and we can't plug it to the radio. We don't have the network to do that. So we can just, you know, hire someone and to do that. But it's getting easier and easier to do it outside of the record labels. And the thing is, in Denmark, if you sign with a Danish record label, you know, they have to get you on the Danish radio. And especially it's a program called P3 is the most important one. And if you don't get a huge single on P3, you're basically, you know, not interesting to the label.
Yeah.
So and I think we don't want to be tied to that. Like we don't want to have to make a P3 single.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have it, but it's just I think we're too old to chase that stuff anymore. We just want to make what we feel like. And then hopefully people are going to dig it, and then we want to go out and play some shows, because that was always the thing about Eclectic, was it was a great live band.
Yeah.
So we want to do some new interesting music and take it in a new direction, and then hopefully hit the road and play some amazing shows.
Well, that again opens up a whole can of questions here, because now I'm getting super curious to see if you guys are going to release it yourself. How are you going to do that? Because obviously having a whole decade of releasing a lot of albums on major labels, and then all of a sudden having to sort of do it yourself. I understand the whole thing about, you know, you want to do something that is authentic, and something that you guys, based on your current you know, stage in life where you're all at. I understand that you want to be true to the art now. But how are you going to promote it? You mentioned something about it. You're going to hire someone to maybe help you promote it or something like that. But could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I think there'd be a lot of people that I've had on in the last couple of weeks that would want to know a bit more about that, or get someone like yourself to maybe give some pointers.
I'll be happy to. We just did it with the White Album. The new album we put out.
I saw that.
Corona hit.
Yep.
Colorama, it's called. We did basically everything ourselves. Released it ourselves and mixed it and recorded it ourselves, and we got someone else to master it in the end. That was also the plan, to master it ourselves, like do everything ourselves. So it was nice to get a fresh set of ears on it in the end. And actually Jacob was really doing a lot of that mixing stuff. He's become really good at that, and I was doing a bit as well. But we did everything ourselves. But you know, the thing with kind of, if I was to pick up the phone and call Jyllandsposten and Politiken and all those papers in Denmark, or TV stations or blogs or whatever, and try and sell my music, I'm not really good at that. You know, at selling myself, I'm not a really good salesman, I guess.
Yeah.
That would be really difficult, and I wouldn't have the network. So if I was calling them, it would be like weird for me, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe for them as well, like the artist is calling them, that seems a little unprofessional or whatever, I don't know. So stuff like that, it's easier to have to book someone else in to do it, and that's the great thing about being on a major label. There's also some not great things about it, but the great thing is that there's a person in each division like handling PR. Yeah. Maybe there's even like 5 people in the PR section of the company doing all that stuff. There's an A&R that's more into the music and how we're branding the whole thing and what's supposed to sound like, and there's a distributor that's kind of saying, okay, where do we have to place this on streaming services and maybe physical units out in the stores and stuff, and there's a plugger as well that takes it to radio, or now it's actually they're doing a lot of plug-in on the streaming services. Right. So they're kind of placing it on the right playlists on Spotify and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about that as well.
You have dedicated people doing all this work for you, right? And they're really good at it to kind of place you in all the right spots for it to succeed. And actually Warner was really good with that with the White Album, because when we didn't have the P3 singles, because we'd never get that in Denmark because it's an indie folk band, you know, so it's impossible.
Yeah.
But they would have a plan B at all times, you know, so they would put us in the right Spotify playlist and they would place it on the right TV show, and we had all these people working for us to do all that stuff. And then of course they take a huge chunk out of the money you make on the record. But like we just figured, like, why not be like a little part of a huge operation.
Exactly.
That was our philosophy back then. But now it's more like, okay, let's be a really big part of a much smaller operation. That's where we are now. So we're just trying something different out.
Yeah.
But we hired someone in to do PR, and we hired someone in to do digital marketing and communication. We actually hired my wife in to do that. And then we
awesome.
And then we had a label called Temporary Rhinoceros. They have it's a little bit confusing maybe, but they have a sub thing called the Nordic Waves that they're working with. So they were kind of doing the whole PR thing for us and calling around. So we hired them in to do that, and plugging as well. And that's the 2 things we can't really do, because we can do the whole music and write the songs, and we can record it and mix it, and we can also like set up a label. That's what you do. Like when you do it yourself, you set up a label, and it's not that hard to do. And then you find out where to place it on Spotify. And then I realized you have to have something called an aggregator. Like you have someone help you. You can do it yourself, but it's better if you have an aggregator to help you upload the stuff to Spotify and make sure it's all handled in the right way. And they can really be a major factor in putting you on the right playlists and making everything look cool in Spotify. And there's a few like aggregators out there, and some are better than others. We have a really cool one, an aggregator.
So aggregator, is again, like, excuse me, I actually don't know what that means. So is that a person, or is that an app or a program, or what is it?
Yeah, I figured it out just before we were supposed to release that. Oh, we have to have an aggregator. I don't know what that is. I found out half a year ago, because the major label was always taking care of all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we're with some company called The Orchard, which is a really huge company. Actually, it's a worldwide company. And what they do is they upload it for you on Spotify. They upload the songs, and they kind of make sure your profile looks cool. Like you can have a little video running. They make sure of that, you know.
Right.
When you play it, there's a video running, like small stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then they also kind of make sure that it gets on the right playlists. And what they can do is stuff like if you have a show in Switzerland, they can go and target Swiss Spotify users and maybe put some ads up and make sure like it's on certain Swiss Spotify playlist that everybody listens to, and they can like make sure that it's like tailor the whole thing on Spotify and other streaming services to like be more effective than if you just upload it and nothing happens, you know. If you just upload your music and there's no one working for it to get on any playlist, and it's you know, how are people supposed to find it? You can never find it, you know.
Exactly.
If it's not coming up on your feed somehow. So they kind of work for that. So it's a really important step actually, but I didn't know that until recently. So a PR person and someone plugging it, and maybe they could be the same, and then an aggregator, and maybe they can also plug a little bit. But those three functions are something we can't really do ourselves.
Then I suppose $1 million question is, how do you find someone you can actually trust to do a good job? Because there's so many cowboys, so many scam artists out there. So have you just been lucky and actually find someone through your network? Because obviously having worked with major labels, or did you just take a chance? I suppose if your wife is doing it, you can probably trust her. But yeah. But like, how do you find some good ones? What do you need to look out for to make sure they're doing a good job?
Yeah, I guess you have to take a chance if you don't know them. I don't know. It was pretty unlucky for us, of course, because the whole Corona thing hit like the day
of course.
of our release. So I don't know. We could have wished for more like results on it, but it's hard to control. So I think you gotta look at like the record of what they've been doing with other bands. I think that's the most important thing to look for. Yeah. Because don't sign with anyone that just says, hey, we can make all this stuff happen for you. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. But you have to look at, okay, but have you done this with other artists?
Yeah.
And what artists are they? Are they kind of similar to me? You know, do you have a record of doing this, of getting some good results? Have you placed these guys in this TV show, or did you plug those guys to that radio station? Did you even, you know, succeed in this before? And if they haven't, you know, maybe you should look somewhere else. And it's actually worth spending a few dollars on it, you know, to get the right person, because it's not a cheap thing to hire the guys in like that. But it's definitely it's going to pay off. And the other end, if you get some good guys to do it, but you need to make sure that it's not just empty words, you know, that they promise you everything, but if they haven't done it before, then you know, I think there's a lot of you know, kind of scam artists to say, okay, we're just gonna promise these guys everything, and we're gonna take their money, and then we're just gonna drop the whole thing when we have the money. You know, I think that's pretty common, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
So you need to have some meetings and kind of see if there's chemistry and if the vibe is good, and then definitely, you know, check up on them and see what's the track record.
Yeah. You know? And sort of in regards to you mentioned dollars, because again, would they be working, like, do you pay them just a flat fee, or is there some kind of split that you would do, sort of performance based? So if you get better placements or something, they have a higher rate, or how does that work?
That would be actually an interesting idea to do, you know, to kind of like the better the music performs, the more they make. That's what we did with the Orchard. Okay, that's the deal. Like that, they get a percentage, so they have an incentive to work for it.
Exactly.
But with the PR thing, we just paid them half the money up front and then half the money afterwards.
Okay, so you're doing like a campaign or something. So say this is the scope of promotion that we want, and we'll hand it over to you. You handle it, half now and half later. Yep. Yeah.
So and they had a difficult time promoting it because of the whole Corona thing. Actually, Klaus's wife ended up taking over the whole thing because she had some ideas to how we could kind of get some publicity with all the Corona. So we did some stuff that she set up.
Fantastic.
So we definitely relied a bit on our wives to help us out.
That's awesome, man.
we have cool wives. What can I say?
Yeah, that's really like because that was gonna be like if you actually wanted to go to like a tour in the US or something, you should just bring the wives, just bring the kids, and go to Disneyland.
That's a great idea, but it's always like for the wives, it's always so much better on paper, right? You know, in theory, because when you finally get there, dad's away all the time. And you're stuck in some foreign country, needing to babysit for the whole time out of your comfort zone.
100%.
So it's better on paper.
Yeah, it would be pretty horrific, I reckon, if you had to sort of put everybody into a tour bus and just drive around there with a couple of screaming kids and all that.
It's nice in theory.
For sure. So what's the future looking like? You obviously you mentioned that you have a new album coming out with Eclectic probably in the next year or two, and you've got that brand new album here. So what sort of where does the ambitions go now? You're obviously doing it yourself. So you must have some sort of goals that you want to tick.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's different goals, but I'm kind of, the way I feel right now is that I want to keep building on this abroad stuff because of the reasons I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
You know, with the whole Danish radio thing, I want to be tied to that. So I want to build more like in Germany, Switzerland, maybe even Sweden, Norway, if that's possible. Maybe get back to England as well sometime.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same with both the bands. So the ambition now is to kind of control it ourselves and see what we can build. Yeah. You know, internationally. That's the plan right now, because it's been all about Denmark for many years now, and that's been really cool to try. And actually, I'm moving to Germany as well with my wife and my daughter. We're relocating to Berlin, and I don't know. We have to sell our apartment first, which should be not that difficult here in Copenhagen. But that's the plan. So I kind of relocate to Berlin and try to build up. So that's going to be nice to be there. It's more central in terms of going out, you know. And Claus and Jacob are still going to be here in Denmark, but you know, it's not going to affect the way we work. So it's going to be easier to I hope so, at least to build up something internationally a little bit easier when I'm down there.
So what made you decide on? Sorry, I was about to say, what made you decide to move to Berlin? Because that's obviously a big change. It's not like you're moving to the neighboring town or something. Like, that's a different country, different setup.
Yeah, no, it was just everybody of our friends was kind of moving back to Fyn, to Svendborg, Svendborg.
Oh wow!
Most of the guys were moving to Svendborg. Anders and Peter is in Svendborg, and just there's many folks our age that get kids, and then they decide to move back to where they came from, or go to the country and get some more peace and quiet. And we also kind of talked about that, Silja and me, and maybe should we, you know, also do that? And we were looking a bit around for a house, and we live in this really small but really nice apartment in Copenhagen. We have 65 square meters, which is like in 2 rooms, and it's not a lot, with a little psycho running around and yelling and tossing toys around and being totally crazy. So we also need to relocate pretty soon, because she needs to have her own room and stuff like that. So that was definitely on the table to move somewhere out to the countryside. But we just had a good, long, honest look at ourselves and our lives and said, man, we're not finished being in the city. We still have so much we want to do and experience. And so now we just have a window, like we need to move to get some more space. And if we need to do that in Copenhagen, we need to spend an insane amount of money to just get a room more. It's like 1 million kroner. It's like, I don't know what that's like in Australian dollars.
About $200,000, $220,000.
Yeah, we need to spend that amount to get like just one more room, as opposed to what we have now in the same neighborhood in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So we just like, let's sell the place. And we always wanted to move to Berlin. I have some really dear friends in Berlin, so I kind of have a little network to start up with. And Sille has some friends down there, and we would go to Berlin like once a year, sometimes twice a year, just to hang out and see all those guys. And we love the city, so we just had a window of opportunity to try and go down there. And she's not in school yet, and you know, it's more, Berlin is cheaper to live in, and it's a bit more creative. So you don't have to be like so focused on earning money all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more like there's a little bit more room to move in creatively, because the focus is not so much on the money. You can live a bit cheaper. Of course, awesome. the rent is going up in Berlin as well, but it's not Copenhagen prices yet. Maybe in some areas in Berlin it is, but you can find a place that's pretty decent, you know, and then not be so focused on making money, and maybe be more focused on making art instead. So it's a good place for that. So we're just going to try and do that for some years. Maybe it's open-ended. So let's see. Maybe we'll stick around, or maybe we'll go back to Denmark or Copenhagen at some point. Maybe when she's starting school. I don't know. So that's all pretty open-ended. So we'll have to see. But we definitely want to try it out. Also, like kind of family adventure somehow.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, like if you don't try, you never know. And Berlin, it's an absolutely, it's an amazing city.
Yeah.
Amazing food.
Amazing food. Yeah. Oh man, there's so many fantastic places. Yeah.
And I suppose the live scene would be pretty vibrant as well.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of stuff going down there in Berlin, especially on the electronic scene, of course, which would be like pretty interesting to check that out. Even though I come from something completely different, but it would be interesting to kind of assimilate that.
Yep.
And there's also a really vibrant jazz scene. Like a lot of the guys I know, I used to play a lot of jazz back in the day, and a lot of the guys I know, they are jazz musicians and also playing pop bands and stuff. But that's a really cool scene as well. Maybe I'll get a little bit more into the whole jazz thing a little bit again. I actually have kind of a really cool little band waiting for me down there with some of my old friends.
Oh, wicked.
Have this really cool little jazz quartet stuff going on. I'm pretty excited about that because I haven't played jazz in 10 years.
Far out.
Yeah.
Man, that sounds...
So yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it sounds amazing, man.
Yeah.
I just got...
kind of a... Yeah, sorry?
No, sorry. So you go.
Yeah, but it's also like... It's a little bit crazy to... I have such a cool network now in Copenhagen, so it's a little daunting.
Of course.
To just say goodbye, you know, because the studio is going pretty well, actually. I have a lot of work out here. And, you know, I can always go back and play the live shows, but it's going to be like I'm going to be starting from scratch in Berlin with the studio. So, you know, it's a little, there's like some anxiety involved in that move, of course, because it's also, that's what makes it super exciting, you know, that you have to
absolutely
kind of build it up again, you know. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. Yeah.
Outside your comfort zone, you gotta try something, the unknown.
Yeah, feel alive.
Exactly. I wanted to just quickly just tell you a little cool story what happened last night. I had a guy on the stream last night who is a Perth musician who just released his second band album, and as a part of the stream, he had a radio station reach out to him after that was watching the interview, and they're now getting they will be getting some rotation on a radio station in Perth. So cool. What one of the whole ideas about this live stream of this show is to be able to sort of connect different musicians from all over the world. Obviously, I'm talking to you now. You're sitting in Copenhagen. The guy I spoke to yesterday was in Perth. I've got a guy, Mitch, who's I can see he's commenting here, who's playing in a ska band in the UK. So you can connect all these people. You know, they can exchange contacts and ideas, because all these people that I have on here are people that are doing it, you know, same as yourself. You know, they're doing for the genuine reason, for the art, for the love. They're all playing original music, and see again, if I could, hook you up with this guy in the UK, and you could help, him with some contacts in Copenhagen, some festivals and stuff, and I might be able to get you on some radio airplay in Perth and something like that. That way, the whole community, the paid forward kind of feel is sort of what gives me the desire to keep going, keep talking to people.
Yeah, man. It's a beautiful thing, Stefan. It's so cool that you're doing this, Yeah, and thanks for having me, by the way. But yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man. If we can connect and help each other out, that's, we need all the help we can get doing this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful thing, man. I'm up for it.
And again, and everybody is same as yourself. Like you came up with some great advice for probably some people who's never thought about. You could actually hire someone to put you in Spotify playlists. I had no idea. An aggregator. I've put that in my little book here. But some of the other stuff, some of your experience will be new to other people, and vice versa. Like you might listen to something another guy said, a week ago, and said, "Oh shit, yeah, that's actually a really good advice, or a really good idea. I've never thought of that." But the main thing is just sharing knowledge, sharing stories, and most importantly, if that can help someone getting their original music out, because like some of the music I've heard in the last couple of weeks, or I've been doing this for about a month and a half now, it's crazy. It's like I can't believe that some of these bands aren't out there, but it's because nobody knows them, because they don't, again, like you said, they don't know how to promote because they know how to play music.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest mistake you can make in this day and age where we are now, like we were talking about earlier, is assuming that it's all just about the music. Because I was doing that for the longest time,
Yeah.
And I was saying to my clients as well, man, just focus on your music. But it's a lot more than that. And I guess what helped us, like the White Album, was also like this image of three kind of fat old dudes with long beards and like these indie rock clothes on, and little beanies, and it was an easy thing to sell. I guess that was a big part of us getting signed, because just the image of the three of us with the long beards. Yeah. It wasn't intentional. It was just like coincidental, actually. But that made it a whole lot easier. And also the Eclectic Moniker maybe a little bit more difficult, but the whole image of a crazy gang of people having this extreme party. So that was also kind of not as clear as the White Album, but kind of a clear image of something, and those things help. Like the more generic it gets, I guess the harder it is to sell, but the more personality and originality and identity it has, the easier it is to sell. So maybe it shouldn't be. I still think it's better if those things come naturally. Yeah. Like, so you just say, okay, what kind of band is it? What kind of vibe do we have? And then maybe try and focus that a little bit and augment it. I don't think it's a matter of saying, okay, what kind of people are we? What kind of band do we have? Okay, let's go in a totally different direction to be cool and more interesting. Yeah, like, that's probably not going to work, because people are going to, smell the fart, right? And say, okay, that's not honest, Yeah, People want a genuine experience, so you just need to figure out like who we are, and that's maybe a process, like mentally as well, to find out what do I actually want to do, and what do I actually like, and who am I actually, and what do I want to put out into the world. And then when you have that, it's going to be so much easier to communicate. Yeah, what it is that we're trying to communicate, because we're competing with all this other stuff, and most of it is like visual, like YouTube videos, and there's so much stuff like that's grabbing the attention of all the people that could be listening to our music. Yeah, and they're not, because they're watching silly cat videos on YouTube instead, or scrolling through Instagram, and there's so much noise, there is, and that's we just kind of need to be communicating pretty effectively at who we are, and then the people that come, and if it's not thousands of people, so be it, but it's better to have the people follow you that actually
the true fans
in you and what you do, the true fans. Yeah, exactly. Those are the ones you want to grab.
But that's also why this format. I mean, obviously, right now we're talking on a webcam, but sort of the whole reason of doing this is to then later actually extract the audio and put it out on the podcast platform. The podcast platform is completely exploding and has been for the last year and well, cool. Actually the last couple of years because people can listen to that everywhere, you know, and it doesn't, that's another thing about it. It doesn't cost them anything. And what I've heard, a lot of feedback that I've had from people who's been watching the show is that they get to, you know, some people might not never, they would never have heard your music. They have no idea who you are, but because they hear your story, they sort of connect with some of the stuff that you're saying. And that makes them want to check out the music because, wow, I really like this guy had some really good points. I resonate with that. And then you become a fan without even knowing the music, and that is that is so unique.
Mm-hmm. That's totally that's a nice way to get to know an artist, you know. It is,
and they get to hear from you.
Yeah, exactly, and then it's, you know, the beautiful thing happens that you get connected somehow.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we all want, like as humans being, like we want to feel this connection.
Genuine.
And maybe deep down, that's why we're actually doing this whole music thing or art or whatever we're doing. Is
100%.
Actually is finding some way of connecting, and music is a great way of doing that.
Yep.
You know,
it's you know, the whole thing. Like you got those 12 notes, and everybody can put those 12 notes together in different ways. And everybody speaks the same language, and that's sort of what really fascinates me about music is the fact, you know, you can play jazz, you can play pop, you can play your indie rock with your long beard, or you can you can catch up with someone who's playing heavy metal or playing blues or any other genre, but you all play the same 12 notes. You just put them together in a different way, put some other effects on it, and it's crazy. It's crazy language.
Yeah. That hit me also at some point, like that's got to be like 10, 15 years ago, because I was really like, I was hating on country music and I was hating on electronic music, and I thought it was just bullshit. And then I heard Ulrich Schnauz, and I heard all these great electronic bands, and I was like, whoa, this is actually pretty cool. And I heard Alison Krauss and Union Station, and I heard all these cool bluegrass musicians. I was like, what? This is amazing, you know. So I became a fan of that, and that actually broke down, you know, that kind of limitation as to genres. You know, I don't like that. I don't like that. I can maybe even find a Eurodance track that I could say this is really cool.
Yep.
You know, or Dansktop, you know, really like lame genre. You can find some cool stuff there, man. If you're open to it, you know, there's so much good stuff all around. And I know sometimes in some periods you need to kind of really focus in on, like, I want to go in this direction now, this particular little nerdy direction of music, and then kind of reject a lot of other stuff. You know, I had a period when I was writing eclectic songs that I could only use 3 chords. You know, I could use like G, C, and D, like those 3 steps, like the first, the fourth, and the 5th step.
Yeah,
that was all I could use, and of course I broke my own rules sometimes, but then I was writing all these John Mayer, Tim Christensen, like ballads and stuff, and I was just like really physically have to go away. I need to focus on doing this particular stuff. So I really had to force myself into that little tiny frame of being creative, and that really like augmented my creative like vibe immensely.
Yeah.
Just really focusing in instead of having a whole blank piece of paper and I can just do anything. It was really cool just to narrow in. So yeah.
That's awesome. But that's again like, but that also makes it you. Like that is, you know, that is your. That's again the crazy thing about music is, you know, whatever you do is your music and it's your art. It's your, as you said before, it's like it's your little baby because it's something that you've molded and perfected over, you know, a period of time, whether it's a couple of months or a couple of years. But who's everybody else to say that they don't like it because it's your music. It's
preferably you would have some people love it and then some people hate it. That would be the best actually, because it's always like that when there's something like that really does something, you know, there's always going to be someone who like genuinely hates it.
Yep.
So that's actually like that's a good place to get to. If you can find someone that really don't like it, there's also going to be someone that really reacts positively to it.
Yeah.
It's nice to have like to share the waters, and you can't be everything for everyone. It's going to be boring and it's going to be not good. You need to take some kind of step in some direction and do it. Like, don't half-ass it.
Exactly.
It's going to be better. Yeah.
But I think that's also, especially from listening to a lot of the people I've been speaking to, as I said on some of the previous shows, is to be able to do it 100%, because everybody needs a day job, to sort of pay off the music. And I think that's the biggest challenge for a lot of people, is to say, look, I would love to do this 100%, like you said that you did when you quit your teaching job. And to a lot of people, that is the scariest part in life. Also, I think the stigma around it, the judgment from everybody around you, saying, look, I'm going to give this a 100% chance. I'm going to quit my day job and I'm just going to focus on music. What are you? Are you 40? Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah. No, but it's never too late, man. It's never too late. But of course, you're going to have to set yourself up for success somehow, because you can't just quit your day job and then keep living in the same expensive apartment and go to the crazy expensive supermarket and get all the nice stuff every day. And there's a lot of stuff you need to make sure, because it's going to maybe when you quit your day job and start doing music full time, it's going to be a while before you start seeing any amount of money,
Yeah.
So it's what do you call it? It's a sets. You need to set.
Yeah, it's a risk. Yeah, 100%. You're going to gamble.
Yeah. It's a huge gamble, and you don't know if you're going to make it, but if you don't try, then you're definitely not going to make it,
And you'll always, and you'll die wondering.
Yeah, but there's I read a book that's called Big Magic. It's Elizabeth Gilbert, the one who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She actually wrote a pretty cool book on creativity, and she said she had this coffee house job, where she would make coffee for people, and she only quit that job when she had like the huge success with the Eat, Pray, Love book. When that came, then she quit it, but she was writing books for many years, and she said, don't quit your day job because you don't want to put too much strain on your art to make money. Right. So that's actually a pretty interesting point. So keep your day job, and this is what you do to finance this whole other thing. But it's really complicated because you also need enough time to be able to focus 100% on the other thing. So but I can see her point, but I guess it's a matter of for musician, for me at least, when I was teaching or doing something else music related, that takes away your musical energy. So then it's better to have a job as a coffee person or a bartender or whatever, I was doing bartending actually for some years when I was coming up with these two bands. And it was a great way to meet a lot of people, and I had a lot of fun also doing that thing, getting really drunk a lot. But that was kind of helping me to meet all kinds of interesting people. But then it's a matter of kind of saying, okay, now I'm doing it. Now I kind of feel like now I can devote my time 100% to this, and then you take the risk, and then you shouldn't be afraid. Of course, you're afraid to take the risk, but you have to do it. Otherwise you won't know, and rather just really try it, and then failing completely, and then you get some feedback from that. Okay, what did I do wrong? And is this even something I should do, or should I do it another way? And you always get wiser, right?
100%. 100%.
But it's I can also see the point of like the biggest thing is not taking away musical energy. Then it would be better to like have a job where okay, I can just do this job, whatever, and it's fine, and then focus all the other energy on music. But then it can't be a full-time job. That's impossible.
Yeah.
It would need to be a job where it's not that many hours a week, because you still need to be able to, and you shouldn't have any kids either.
Yeah. I suppose
it's definitely impossible.
Yeah. I suppose again, yeah, it is such a fine balance, because it also comes down to what sort of job you have, and what sort of, again, like you said, how many hours do you spend in that job? Because you could be in a job that is so mentally draining. If you're in any service job where you're gonna get yelled at and stuff, you come home and you're so worn out. You just wanna, you just want to go to bed. You're not
sitting down to the computer or the guitar and writing songs. You're just turning on the TV and saying, to relax.
Yeah, you just want to unplug.
So you don't want a job like that if you have to have something that's not really annoying to do, like something you enjoy. Yeah, I think that's a big thing in life, to find out what you enjoy. Like what gets you in the zone. Like when you forget about the space and time, and you're just totally into what you're doing. Like when you find out what that is, you should just keep doing it, and doing as much as of it as you possibly can. Yeah, because that's probably what you're meant to do. The stuff you really enjoy doing. And I see a lot of people not being too conscious about that, because it's all about making the money to make the wheels go round, and it's pathetic,
Yeah, they're
it's
scared.
Not pathetic, actually. I respect it, but it's I think it's dangerous, to live your life like that, because you would probably end up being really bitter and old.
Yep. I can resonate with that 200%. Look, every time I do one of these streams, I'm almost scared shitless, like 5 to 10 minutes before. It's kind of like before you have to go on stage, you stand out at the back and you have to go in, you have to perform, you have to be on it. And again, this is me 10 years ago for you. This is me starting out this little thing that are just growing. But I've actually decided to try and give this a chance. My real job imploded. My real job imploded about a week and a half ago. So we just talking about finances and stuff. We just sold our house. We just got a cheap rental. So all of a sudden you have that financial buffer that allows you to actually try and give it a chance for at least try it out for a couple of months and just do it 100%. And I thought, man, hey. Yeah. So again, I can resonate with that 200%, man. It's so good to hear you say that.
Yeah. And it's also interesting that you say you have some kind of anxiety coming up like before you have to do it, and it's usually a roadmap of something that's pretty important to you. Like that's kind of a signpost as to that's good. If you're doing something that kind of scares you a little bit, that's probably you shouldn't back away from that.
Yeah,
that means that it's really important to you. So that's kind of that's a good thing to follow, and just overcome it and do it and jump out in it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Again, it's one of those things that I know. I just whatever I do, I just cannot stop. I have to just keep going, even though it's so scary, it's so daunting at times. But yeah, look, if you stop, then it's done, then you're never gonna get back. I mean, it's kind of the same as if you want to pick up an instrument, if you want to learn how to play guitar, oh man, this is too hard. You're just gonna give it up, but you keep pushing because I want to learn to play that song, and once I can play that, hey, I want to try and learn this song. And if you have the passion, if you have the drive to keep moving, that's again the only way to get success, and that's why I'm just keep going forward.
Yeah, exactly. I have the same with the whole studio thing I've set up, because I was always like looking over your shoulders of the other producers and mixers I was working with. So, but I just got so much into the stuff, like how to EQ and how to use a compressor and how to set a studio up and how to mix and automate stuff and just delving completely into that world. And there's so much stuff you can learn. Like you're never going to be finished with it. Yeah. But it's the same. It's the same like passion that you're talking about. Like I just want to learn this. I just keep going, learning more and more and more and more. And just keep hammering away at it a little bit every day until you got it, So you can't give up too soon. Then maybe if you're the person that's giving up on it, maybe it's better if you find another thing where you're not going to keep quitting. but you're gonna have so many like defeats and rejections and stuff, no matter what, especially in this kind of industry. It's gonna be filled with all that. So you just gotta say, okay, that was not so nice, but now I have to stand up again and just go work more.
Yeah.
You need to be able to take all that.
You have to.
And bad stuff, and it's just a part of the game,
If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. You just gotta get used to it. Just gotta somehow get used to falling down and getting back up, right? Yeah,
absolutely. Cool. Let's try and wrap it up a little bit. I've got a couple of comments here. So basically, Mitch, I'll definitely have to put you in contact with Mitch. He's plays. He's a guy I told you about who plays. He plays in that. He calls the genre for Brit ska. So it's a combination of Britpop and ska music. They have cool. I'm sure you'd love their music. It's they have a big 9-piece band with a full brass section, and they play some really like party music. It's wicked.
Cool.
He's sitting at home at the moment. UK is in actual lockdown and stuff. So he's just been putting out videos every day and all that stuff. But yeah, he's saying here, he's writing here, he said, I'm in contact with a great plugger in the UK. I'm gonna try and bring the comms to Denmark. Where should I focus on a tour? And is there any contacts that we could share across the two countries? I would really appreciate that.
Sure, man. Let's hook us up, man.
Yeah. He's a really good guy. I've been talking to him back and forth over pretty much. I think we've been talking pretty much every day since he was on the show, and very proactive guy as well.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm sure you guys would get along.
Awesome.
Let's see. And and my mom says that she really enjoyed listening to your story. But she's my biggest. She's my biggest fan. She's been tuning in all the time.
That's sweet, man.
Good stuff, man. Just on the finish line here. The last song we're going to listen to here is a song that you've chosen from the White Album, Kings and Aces. Can you tell us a little bit about this song?
Sure can. It's one of Jacob's songs. So it's Jacob singing it, and we arranged it together, and it's been a really huge song for us. It's kind of our biggest song, our biggest hit, if you can say that.
Yep.
We always had kind of a tough time playing it live because it's a song that really needs the drum beat, and we've been playing a lot trio, which is 3 guitars.
Right.
But now we have an extra musician called Daniel Schethman playing with us on this upcoming tour that we were supposed to be on right now, but that we're going to do in the fall instead.
Yeah.
So now, and Jacob is playing drums on it now.
Wicked.
So he's doing this Don Henley thing where he's singing and playing drums at the same time. But it's just a really nice kind of 70s-ish song, and it's really the heart and soul of the White Album. The song, it's been a really important song for the band in many ways. So even though it's not like my song per se, like we all feel that all the songs are our songs. Even if it's Klaus's song, it's still kind of our song as well. So, and it's the same with this. I just really love the song. It's one of the best songs that he's written, and for many years, like maybe now we're kind of onto something new, but it was really like the sound of the White Album, the song, with the vocal harmonies and the nice little bit of a sexy beat it has as well.
Yeah, it's a very mellow, very very happy.
Yeah.
Feel to it.
And also the video is kind of nice because we shot it down in Brighton, and Klaus cut it. Klaus is always doing all our visual stuff.
Oh, great.
So it's a nice memory of being on the road in England.
Fantastic.
So there's a lot of good stuff in that song. Yeah.
Awesome. I think also just before we round off here, I also want to quickly just show people where to sign up to your pages here. So right now here I've got you can't see that here, but I've got your YouTube page up where people should instantly go in and sign up here. So I usually just tell people, so here you can go over here and you click this little subscribe button here and you click the bell. Bingo! And you said, I want to get all the notifications from the White Album. And you should do this straight away. Everybody who's watching this, back, who's not actually a part of this now, everyone who's restreaming this should go in straight away here, go onto the YouTube/White Album Music or the Eclectic Moniker. And you go in and you subscribe to the channels. There is a ton of different videos on here that you'll be able to go through from both bands, actually. And there's a lot of great songs. And the good thing about YouTube is that it's free for you to listen to, but if you want to support the guys, obviously go to the actual website. The whitealbum.dk, is that where you can buy the actual...
There's a web shop.
Yep.
There's a web shop. There's a link to the web shop on the web page.
Yep. So you can buy...
There's a link to this big cartel page where you get transferred to, and you can buy the new album or some of the old albums, or a t-shirt, or... sometimes we have ceramics as well, and I don't think we have that right now. We had all kinds of crazy stuff in our merchandise.
And you ship worldwide?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think I have to go in and order one. I'll try and actually order t-shirts from everybody that I've had on, so I can do some promotion here.
Cool, man. Cool.
Fantastic, man.
Yeah.
It's what do you say? Do you say Frederik of Frederick? How would you say it in English?
In English, yeah, Freddy.
Yeah, it's so funny. When we were naming our third son, we actually had Frederick as one of the names, but we decided it's just too hard. It's going to get too difficult for him to say. So we decided on Henrik because we really wanted a Danish name, and both Frederick and Henrik, are royal names. So that was one of the reasons why we went for
Henrik.
And
is probably it's going to be easier for folks to pronounce.
Yeah, and it gave it could be Henry, it could be Rick, and it could be Henrik. So obviously got a couple of options there, man.
Yeah, it's always really interesting. Frederick.
Frederick, yeah.
Different versions of that.
and I suppose your last name doesn't make it any easier either.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any better at all. No.
But Frederick, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really loved hearing all your insights and all your tips and tricks.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Steve, and it was nice to be a part of it.
Absolutely, and
I'll keep going, man. Keep going and keep it alive, and it's a beautiful thing that you're doing.
Will do. I'll play this song now, the from the White Album, Kings and Aces, and then after that, I'll have a chat to you about Mitch and those connections. So we'll have a chat soon.
Yeah, come on.
Thanks, Frederik. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you. See you, bro.
Thanks so much for tuning in or listening along to the show. If you like the show, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to my social channels. It doesn't cost you anything, but it greatly helps me to build my networks and my chances of getting sponsors to keep this show running. If you want to take it to the next level, please head over to patreon.com/Stephen Helhammer and become a patron by joining the exclusive community there. You can start from as little as $3 per month. And for just a little extra, you get access to some fantastic features, outtakes, behind the scenes stuff, and much, much more. That's less than the cost of a cup of coffee per month. And that way you can help me build better content. I can devote more time to find awesome guests and just generally just keep everything flowing. If you want to be on the show or subscribe to my mailing list, send an email to steven@helhammer.com, and that is HELhammer.com. That way I can start sending you exclusive invites, random stuff, and messages that, who knows, you might enjoy. So that's it. Have a rocking day ahead, guys, and I will see you on the live stream or in your headphones very soon. Take it easy.